We get to see a little bit more Rapha in a few minutes' time. This is week number 7 of Stage 3 of Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, and I'm joined by Flea from home today. Rapha versus Dramis is our next matchup, and I don't know about you, Flea, but I'm quite interested in this one because we've seen Dramis has definitely been one of those players that has been, especially in the online world. I know it's not quite been the same kind of vein on LAN, but
Right.
online at least, Dramis has been from original like stage 1 dramas to now. There's definitely a lot of growth there.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't get any stronger than Rapha right now. Rapha is the current champ, and he just absolutely dismantled people at the stage 2 finals. Poland has been following suit and staying true to form in the online world, as everyone expects. It's going to be probably the hardest opponent Dramis can go up against, but
Yeah.
if he's able to bring it, it'll be interesting to see. But Rafa's definitely the favorite, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I checked it out before the broadcast started, and I believe that Rapha, not only did he not drop a single map at the Stage 2 finals at the LAN, but I don't think he's dropped a map since Stage 3 started, and we're in week 7 right now, so this man absolutely is on it there. I think Rapha's just made the decision like, you know what, we've come this far, how about I just finish the entire Quake Pro League without dropping a map anymore? How's that sound? So the man is clearly hungry for more. He's one of the most disciplined players in the league. He always wants to push it as far as it can go. Doesn't matter if he's 20 frags in the lead, he will continue grinding it out until the very end. But on the other hand, I think Rapha, one of the very few weaknesses in his game is that when things are unexpected and they work out in a way that he doesn't expect them to, that might get to him at least a little bit. So if Dramis can bring out these unexpected plays that Rapha doesn't expect and that Rapha doesn't see coming, he might have somewhat of an opportunity to take a quick lead and then maybe using the speed of Slash just get himself going.
My one concern about that, and we can talk about this in droves. Of course, we'll go through the picks and bans, Ruins of Sarnath, and that's going to be Crouch Slider, the battle of Crouch Sliders with the Strog versus the Slash, Blood Covenant, which is Visor versus the Ranger, and then finally Veil of Nath, another battle of the big bodies with Sorlag and Scalebearer. But on the subject of that, I know we always used to talk about that, didn't we? We say whenever you watch Rapha play or in a tournament setting, whether he's just in scrims, whatever, some of the more consistent ways to kind of catch Rapha are things that he doesn't expect. And we've just touched on this. It almost feels like, though, now we're like stage 3, week number 7. We are so many weeks into Pro League now that the likelihood of that even happening to Rapha it just goes down week after week, because surely at this point he's seen it all and he's ready for everything. Is that even possible anymore? Remains to be seen.
That's the question, right? I mean, I said it in the very first week of Stage 3, or Stage 3 rather, when I was here with Jackie, and I said, I think that the big question that's on everyone's mind going into this stage is, can anyone put a dent in Rapha the way he's currently playing? So far, no one's been able to, but as you said, the man's nickname is the Professor for a reason. He's got such excellent game sense, right? I know it's a meme, but the 5 steps ahead of you, he always considers every possible outcome for each engagement, and only commits when he feels that the odds are in his favor. So it is extremely difficult to catch him off guard, but it'll be one of the few things, nevertheless, that Dramis can do to perhaps edge out a win.
Rapha just brings I guess we'll use the word terrifying element to Quake Champions, where he is widely regarded now as the greatest Quake player of all time in history, because you just combine all of the Quakes where he was successful and has done well. And Champions is just a further exaggeration of that. But it's the fact that he combines everything in a way that is almost unmatched, because he has a almost lifetime of Quake competitive experience. And it's not just playing Quake, it's competing at the highest level. He is a scientist of the game to this day, where he just studies every possible inch of a map of a champion, whatever it is, always researching more and more. And then you take his aim, which has been getting better and better. It was never something that people considered his strongest suit. Quake Champions is definitely changing that as well. Everything is almost perfect. And then you combine the fact that he's got more competitive Quake experience than almost anyone on the planet. That is a terrifying combination. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things, right? His aim. Rapha never had bad aim. Let's be absolutely clear about that. You can't compete at the highest levels of Quake rather, when your aim is subpar. So Rapha always was a good aimer. But as you mentioned, it was never his strong suit. People never said, oh yeah, Rapha's the best aimer in the scene. But what we've seen in recent months, I mean, Rapha's definitely been working on it. And on that note, we are going to jump into our first map of this series. Rapha taking on Dramis. This is Ruins of Sarnath, and we've got two crowd sliders going up against each other.
This is going to be a hard battle. Dramis, highly experienced right now, always grinding the ranked leaderboards. And he's going to try and go crazy aggressive here on Rapha. The LG, though, too hot to handle. And Rapha's going to get that first frag here. But this is, by all accounts, a massive test for Dramis. That he's been consistently doing better and better versus a lot of different players. But, I mean, Rapha, it doesn't get any more dangerous at this point in the Pro League. If Dramis even gets a single map, this is going to be a success for him. Yeah.
It would be the first map, as I mentioned earlier, that Rapha has dropped in a long time. Good little cheeky rail coming out of Dramis right there. Rapha still has the better cycle, the better path to both of the major items. Heavy will go his way instantly, but Dramis got a decent amount of stack to work with himself. Nice little jump from Dramis, and a good rocket as well. Rapha has to give up. Hang on.
Okay. Ooh, nice.
That was a really strange fight for Rapha to jump back into the room. I think he realized that he could not deal with the speed that Dramis was going for after using that the plasma trail from Slash, and he just knew that, you know, let's do something unexpected myself.
If there is a map Dramis is going to be able to win, I would assume it to be this one. Mostly just because, you know, there is this element of Dramis kind of getting that early surprise factor on Rapha, but mostly it's the champion pick. We've seen time and time again that Slash is very much kind of Dramis's strongest champion, and he is extremely comfortable on this pick. And if there's one thing you can do, it's run rings about anyone if you're that fast. If Dramis plays this well, this could be the map he's able to take, or at least start something off.
Absolutely. 1-1 though, Dramis. Still keeping things tight for the time being, but Rapha is he's gonna ignore the Mega for the time being, but won't commit all the way because the Plasma Trail was being used, and that is one of Rapha's biggest strengths. He's an incredibly disciplined player, and he is not going to chase you down unless he knows, absolutely, that he's got a 99% shot of winning the fight.
Gonna double back, catches him on the jump pad, and the combo kill. Looking really simple for Rapha so far, and sometimes there is this air, and we've talked about it in the past, sometimes fast movement can somewhat be used against you. You almost worry a little bit that Dramis is going a bit too fast. And he's actually running himself into these free openings. However, this should be a free rail! Doesn't manage to hit the mark. Rapha just has the cover he needs. That was a bit of a scary exchange. But yeah, to kind of elaborate just now, it's Dramis, he's going really fast. The problem is, Rapha is just allowing him to speed around the corner and hit a jump pad, and he's just punishing him. That is going to be a kill for Dramis. Really well played. That is somewhat there, but he's tender. Even after that heavy, he's got to get as many lights as he can near Rocket, just to stop the bleeding a bit.
Now we get another engagement on the Mega, and that will be going Dramis' way. Rapha overstaying his welcome slightly, but actually off the spawn immediately with a stack advantage. Rapha, he's got a pretty good idea of when that small armor is going to spawn. We'll just hang around for that. And here we go, Dramis. No clue that his opponent was there, and look at that LG from Rapha. Oh, though! Hello!
Dramis coming in with some clutch here, Flea.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really unexpected shot from Dramis, and he's actually managed to get the lead over Rapha. This is looking good for him.
But now Rapha, there's one thing he's been able to do, is restack back up. And this is the good pick with the Strog and Pika, that at the very least he's got a champion that can kind of compete with that movement of Dramis. He's not getting completely overwhelmed. It's just when these fights are happening, Dramis, he's in a good position. He's kind of established himself. And then when the fight happens, he's hitting every shot he needs to hit. It's, you know, you have to play against Rapha. To defeat Rapha, often you just need to play perfect. You can't really have a subpar game and squeeze it out. I mean, it's Rapha, for crying out loud. He's going to go for the kamikaze. Oh. And combos it in nicely. That's a pretty clean little pickup. Pressure off the spawn. Tries to get a free rail, but she is already out of dodge. Any other champion probably would have got hit in the backside there.
That was a lot of indecisiveness from Dramis right there. That hindered him a lot. Because you could tell, do I go for Rapha? He jumps, tries to make his way around the corner. Do I do damage on the Strog himself? Oh no, the Peeker, it's blocking me too much. I need to switch to the Peeker. And just the indecisiveness of not picking his target consistently allowed Rapha to do so much damage. But hang on, Rapha basically frozen in place as the murderous rockets take him down a notch. Dramis immediately coming after him too, hoping to do some more damage as Rapha regains positioning on the heavy.
And this has been highly competitive for a map number 1. Rapha staying a little bit too long, perhaps, as he went into the Pika, but Dramis was already ready. And now actually 2 frags in the lead here on Rapha. Rapha's always somewhat of a comeback king, always able to make these kind of crazy plays, but I just think Dramis, if he can just keep this lead, he's clearly cycling around the map properly. He's got a whole bunch of stacks to work with. That rail hurts, but Dramis able to pay him in kind. That's neat. And he's going to jump back and just keep the control. You know, the control is Dramis' main objective with this kind of difference between the frags. If he can keep Rapha behind. Rapha's kind of having to go up to a basic stack only. Doubles up with the Pika. Gets a really nice amount of damage, and he's looking to try and pepper out just a bit more. Dramis sticking around too long on the Mega. And that's unfortunate. And that's a bad spawn too. But wait a minute. Maybe I spoke too soon. He has the machine gun, and Rapha didn't have much health. I definitely spoke too soon there.
And what you said earlier is so true. I feel like you can be 3 frags down to Rapha and still feel like you're chasing him for the lead, because he's just such an enormous presence on the map that even when you have the score lead, you just always feel like you're trailing behind him. Gets a perfect read. Can he find the angle? Yep, Dramis goes down, and now Rapha just 1 frag down. It's gonna wait for the small armor. It's got a really nice rotation and keeping track of more than just the 2 main items.
And he's able to establish the control as well. Lots of damage coming out from Dramis, and Dramis sticking around a bit too long near the heavy. Now, this is actually a very scary situation for Dramis, because just look at the stack that Rapha has. He's got perfect timing on both items. He controls both of the items. Dramis has only just been able to grab himself a rocket launcher. The small time it took to swap to the rocket launcher was enough time to get that 1 free shot for Rapha. Now he's got the pressure. LG spawn is... There could be worse weapons to spawn near, but a really good rocket is going to start things off. And he gets the last hit needed. And it's just in time for a Mega, keeping the timing in mind. Dramis may have been able to hear it. Depends on where he was on the map, actually. But this is the sequence where he's just taking away, constantly take away everything. A lovely rail. These rails are phenomenal, Flea.
Yeah, absolutely. Rapha really showing us that his aim is up there among the very best, right? And now Dramis, Rapha knows that he's got essentially nothing to work with. Dramis has to drop down. That's sad though, there's still more than 2 minutes left. Okay, I was about to say, if Dramis can stop this gap in kills from getting any larger, then he still has a good shot at getting back into this. But Rapha just shutting that down so quickly.
I mean, what Dramis even spawned near? He spawned, he has an SSG, and that's the best he's going to get from that range. Rapha had no shyness of being aggressive.
One of the biggest issues of being a light champion on this map is that it is notoriously difficult to get back into control. In part because picking up the 2 small armors is so risky, right? Both of them are in really bad positions to get caught out in. So even if you manage to steal a small armor as a light champion, and you need that armor so much because you don't really spawn with any to work with, then it's so easy for your opponent to trap you there at the top or at the bottom. It doesn't matter. So very difficult for Dramis, and now with 1 minute and 30 seconds left for 4 frags. I don't know about this one, Ketchup.
It's just the fact that the divide is becoming even larger too. And this is very characteristic of Rapha, that it will be competitive and back and forth, but the moment he establishes full control, it is... You rarely see a player be able to get it back. That's what we're seeing here from Dramis, that he was actually in the lead for most of this map. All it took was Rapha to get that lead once, and now look at the divide. Look at the difference in stack. Look at the shots that he's able to hit. Like, when Rapha cements his presence, Rapha wins the map.
Yeah. Rapha being behind you in terms of score just means that you have to worry every single second because you know he's coming for you. But Rapha being in the lead above you, what can you do to claw your way back into it? Dramis is trying, he's throwing himself at his opponent, but even with the additional momentum that you get as the slash, Rapha's defensive weaponry and his combat skills, they're good enough for Dramis to not have a chance.
Oh, there's that midair. That midair kamikaze. He's looking for the final angle. Almost hits it, but yeah, just deny. This map's over. But Dramis really took it to Rapha for most of it, but it's as we see time and time again. The moment Rapha is on the map and he has the lead, it's over. And you have to reach that kind of next level. You've got to somehow find a way to take control away from him. You rarely see a player be able to do it. And unfortunately for Dramis, map number 1, I do fear this was his best shot at taking a map from Rapha, and it did not go his way.
Yeah, pretty much. He had a really solid start, but then it just all slipped through his fingers and he was unable to really do anything else with the lead that he gained. And then once you're out of control, you mentioned it yourself, right? Once Rapha gets into the driver's seat, there's next to nothing you can do, especially on a map like Ruins. As a light champion, which, as I already explained, is a tall order for any player in any situation, especially when you're up against the player that is generally considered to be the greatest Quaker of all time. So still a valiant, a strong effort from Dramis. I think he still has some gas left in the tank, some more moves to make in the next 2 maps.
Yeah, it's the nature of the next map. It's going to be Blood Covenant, just to remind everyone. The Athena was banned away, and it's going to be Visor. I've got a thought, and I'm going to hold that thought until we start the map, because I don't want to speak too soon. I have a theory. Okay. I have a theory, but I'll keep that. I'll keep that to myself. But it's going to be Ranger coming out from Dramis all the same. So this is another situation where Rapha, if he has access to a Visor, on a map like this, he's already got great game sense. And that's what's so scary about Visor at this level is you have amazing reads and decisions. You already know someone's going to be, and you hit these crazy rail angles. And now you have the piercing sight available. It's like, that's like one of the most scary. I do not want to deal with a Rapha if he's got a wall hack available. Like, that's just throw it out the window.
I mean, Rapha's just his overall knowledge of where your opponent is going to be. It's already up there at the very top. And then you add a piercing side to it, it just amplifies it even more. In any situation in which he's not 100% sure where his opponent is at, he's just like, well, I've got this, I've got this ace up my sleeve. I'm just gonna use it, and now I know exactly where you are. So as you said, extremely scary stuff coming out for Dramis. But on the other hand, he does have the Ranger. He has the Orb. Rapha, champion pick on this map, just doesn't have a lot of mobility, right? There's not that much you can do as the Visor on this map, whereas on the other hand, Dramis using the Orb, that can open up so many ways and so many avenues of movement to him that it might be able to take Rapha by surprise.
Well, I'm interested to see how we go, because Rapha, he's not really shy of being an incredibly slower paced player, and that kind of pace means that, maneuverability is not as vital. Especially if you have a good stack, you can still use rocket jumps and stuff like that to get the weapons that you want. If Rapha has control and he starts to be able to, pressure you, if he gets that big lead like we saw at the end of Ruins, Visor's quite a scary pick, because then it's information. It's information overload. You know everything. You know where you're going to spawn. You might know what weapon you're near or something like that. We're about to find out, because now Blood Covenant begins. We're going to see if Rapha's going to make this 2-0 or 1-1.
And you know that just because it's Rapha, he is going to be so careful putting himself in a position where Dramis will not be able to use the Orb to the fullest effect. I think you're very rarely going to see Rapha just standing, waiting on a ledge, opening himself up to that kind of an assault, where his opponent just orbs close to the distance and does the damage. Look at the aggressive push from Rapha, though. Dramis, he does have the LG, so he can temporarily push his opponent back, but that was very aggressive for Rapha.
And certainly not expected by Dramis. And he punishes with the Orb! That is why the Orb is one of the best close-range tools in the game. The fact that you can shoot the rail, and you no longer have to deal with the rail cooldown. You can fire the Orb in between. Get that nice little two-piece combo. But yeah, that little early jump down from Rapha, Dramis definitely wasn't expecting, but he capitalized all the same, managed to survive, put himself in a position to get that delicious two-piece.
Yeah.
But now, we'll see who can come back here. Rapha always seems to find himself on a huge stack fresh off the spawn. Yeah, Rapha's not going to do the same thing twice. Even though there's no Orb, he doesn't want to jump down anyway. A bit more safe.
Nice rail from Dramis, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Semi
Close.
had the angle. He was so close to that one, Fleet.
Absolutely. And now Dramis, he brought Rapha nearly to his knees, but unfortunately for him, unable to deliver the killing blow. And now the stacks are more or less tight. Now Dramis does have the Mega waiting behind him, so he will have a bit of an advantage. There you go. He's gonna hear the bouncer being used.
Yeah, a bit more of a There's more of a disengage here from Dramis. He knows he has the timing on the Mega at least. Heavy actually still yet to be taken. And thanks to the orb, it's put him in a great spot, but some defensive rockets coming through from Rapha. I do wonder if he's going to be able to maybe position himself. That was a really good rocket to start things off here. But yeah, Dramis, he's just been playing quite a methodical game. Just more like keeping away from Rapha and looking for rails first.
Yeah, he should have a pretty good idea of when the Mega was taken. He heard the bounce pad. He knows that Rapha stole that item from him, and he's gonna try and set up a bit of a trap. Now, you still have to be careful, because of course, Rapha, he's got the piercing sight. That's an enormous amount of tribal damage coming out right there. Dramis, he has to get out of there. He will manage to do so successfully as well.
Ooh, a fight's breaking out. Who's gonna have the better rockets? Goes in for the orb, but it's not much, unfortunately. When you go in for the dire orb as an aggressive tool, obviously it's very all or nothing. And unfortunately for Dramis, that situation just didn't really manage to seize a lot of damage there.
Not at all, and now things are all back tied up. Heavy's gonna be the next item. Rapha is actually just gonna go up the bounce pad, block Dramis completely. Can Dramis do any damage? That's a decent amount of unreturned heavy machine gun, but the rail is gonna force him to retreat, and now Rapha does get himself onto the heavy. Oh, I like the aggression coming out of Dramis right there. Unfortunately, super shotgun doesn't succeed in doing so much damage. The rail does, however. Mega is up. Oh no, that's a shame. If Dramis had tried jumping to the item immediately, or if he had landed that rail, he would have been in such a good position. But right now, it is Rapha once again dominantly presenting himself on the map. Is this the point already that he starts running away with the score?
You often see the exact same thing repeat itself. It's just a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
If this is the time where Rapha's able to cement himself early on, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare for Dramis. I will admit this is the kind of map I would expect it to happen, because, I mean, if it's a thinking man's map and Rapha he's got the biggest brain in the business, it would be highly surprising if Dramis is actually able to win this map, I think. No discredit to him, of course. It's just Rapha is so dangerous on this kind of map.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Rapha, he's got the better positioning as well. Dramis lands a rail though, but he needs a lot more than that. And Rapha, that's a very clever decision from Rapha right there. Instead of going for the railgun, he just peppered his opponent with consistent damage, because he knew that he was in the better position. So Dramis is just trying to get those long distance rails off, and Rapha is just dodging most of them and constantly peppering his opponent with those 15 damage bullets, and that hurts a lot over time. Now Rapha though, at a stack disadvantage, takes a bad tribal as well. Dramis, he needs to get himself a railgun. That's the weapon he still needs. Rapha, is he gonna even go for heavy? Because his stack is relatively limited. He knows that Dramis is waiting for him.
It's fair to assume that Dramis is going to try and pepper something. The Tribal didn't really hit its mark. It's more just establishing threat, I suppose, at this point. But this is that dangerous point, Flea, where 5 minutes are already gone. And Rapha, he's been actually a fair amount of damage. And no! The orb. You can definitely tell that Dramis likely had the idea of being aggressive with that one, because it hits so much entry damage. But he couldn't chase. Rapha's quite weak. He's actually still trying to push a little bit. Misses a shot, and he challenges your accuracy, Dramis. That was your opening.
That was a shot right there. Yeah, if he had hit that rail, that would have been a much closer game than what we're seeing right now. And now Rapha, making his way onto the mega health as well. He's got full control. And Dramis, I've seen a few good orbs come out of him, but I feel like it's definitely Rapha that's gotten more out of the ability. That information that we were discussing at the start is helping him out a lot, in addition to his already incredible game sense as it is. Excellent rail as well. He knows Dramis is crippled.
This is scary.
Yeah.
Because even if Dramis is looking to disengage here, it's just time. It's time wasted. So he's going to back off, and he's got loads of the lights, but not really going to help him. And now there's actually going to be a fair amount. Depending on the spawn, this might be tricky, because he's just picked up a whole bunch of the lights to try and survive, and he got pasted anyway. Rapha knows he can be aggressive, because what's Dramis going to retreat to? There's nothing. There's nothing to pick up on the map at all. Totally starved out. And in essence, kind of starved himself away because he didn't manage to survive.
And that's one of the things that Rapha is also very well known for, just his total domination when he does get into control. He's not gonna leave you scraps to work with. Same goes for Cooler, another player who's very well known for doing that, just completely starving your opponent of any resources they need to mount a comeback. And look at that, so Dramis, he can't even find health bubbles to get himself up to that 100 health again, and Rapha just dominantly running circles around the map. Perfect read again. Dramis will fall once more, and again, right, history repeats itself. It's a pretty close game at the start, Rapha gets into control, and then just the frags start mounting.
When Rapha manages to get his level of control, the map is over, and that really is terrifying. It has to be, surely, that when you're in this position, so many players, even the best in the world, they fall victim where it's like the second Rapha is around, it's like, well, he has everything, and he denies everything. Dramis, look at the stack. Look at his lack of armor. There's barely anything there. He's gone back up there, and there's still no armor. And he knows.
Yeah.
Rapha, he knows you've just gone to armor, and it's not there. I know where you're going to jump down to, and he's ready. He's waiting. And what's Dramis going to do? Not go for that? He's so far behind.
Yeah, Rapha knows that it's his opponent is just... Oh, hang on.
Okay.
That was a lot of damage out of nowhere, just as I was about to say, that Rapha knows that Dramis is going to look for those Hail Mary close quarter engagements. This is actually something that Rapha might lose. He managed to get out 5 points of health, finds himself some more health to work with. Dramis, though, aggressively pushing on the heavy.
Oh my god, I am so surprised Dramis was not able to win that fight. Rapha just no fear, honestly. Just may as well stick around, deny anyway. If he gets it, he can't take it himself. And now, yeah, I mean, this map was over again. Like, we've reached that point, but yeah, some unfortunate fights for Dramis here. Ah, cute.
A little bit of damage coming out right there with the heavy nail gun. But at this point, does it even matter anymore? Rapha's got such an enormous lead right now. Dramis, look at this stack. I think this is the first time this entire map that we've seen Dramis with a stack like that catch up. Nothing like that is he managed to achieve up until now, and Rapha using that side. 1, 2, 3. Can he hit the 4th, the finisher? It is actually Dramis who is going to disengage, and that is exactly the information that we were talking about at the start, right? I was just pointing out how stacked Dramis is, and then Rapha is like, okay, hang on a second, let me use my ability, 1, 2, 3, and you're gone. You're gone.
And then you also realize that it's extremely likely that Dramis was that stacked because Rapha didn't mind it. And it's like, I'm going to allow this for Rapha to have so much cemented in. Yeah, this has been just a map of Rapha doing what Rapha does best, where he plays it slow and he shows the utmost respect at almost every single turn. The moment he takes a lead, he just plays. I've never really seen anyone in Champions play a lead as strongly as Rapha can. It just, you so rarely see anyone crack that momentum.
Yeah.
And when he has this lead, I mean, just look at what happens. 2 to 14, one-sided as it gets.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's interesting though, because I feel like there were quite a few plays in there that I feel like were not like Rapha at all, really, in a certain way. There were a few engagements that Rapha took where it was like one rail would have finished him, would have put Dramis back in a position to mount a comeback, but Dramis missed the shots, Rapha managed to pick up the item with a few seconds left to spare, and he got the frag anyways, but still, that could have very easily gone Dramis' way, back when things were still really closely tied in terms of score, so a few strange decisions that I feel like you don't see Rapha make very often, but still worked out in his favor, so calculated, I'm sure.
Absolutely, because how many interviews have we heard from Rapha where whenever the kind of discussion of his playstyle comes from, and he gets onto the subject of damage and fights, the combat in general, he'll often say things along the lines of, yeah, I rarely dedicate to fights unless I'm 100% certain I'll win it, or unless, you know, I think I've got really, really good odds. Like if there's a huge risk, like, you know, he's one to make calculated risks, but those kind of really insanely bold plays, which make you go, what are you doing? Like, Rapha's not the kind of player that will make those that much in Quake Champions. And there's almost this element where you think about how some of those plays weren't very characteristic of Rapha. It's extremely likely that Rapha's just aware that Dramis is not really hitting much of his shots this time, and that changes your entire mental calculation of
Yeah,
how much of a risk has this fight become. Like, if I push
absolutely.
now and he's not hitting the shots, how much damage am I realistically likely to take? And it's super likely that Rapha is now factoring that into his decision making, and maybe he just doesn't need to respect it as much.
I mean, I have no doubt that that's played a part in it. Rapha is under no circumstances just going to push and go for these kind of Hail Mary fights when he thinks like, okay, I've got a small chance of winning these engagements. No, he is always going to prioritize taking these fights when he knows he's got a really good outlook and a really good odds of winning the fight as well. So no doubt that there was a lot of calculation going behind that, and then he just decided, you know what, based on what I've seen so far, I think there's a really good chance that my opponent is going to miss this rail, and if he misses that, I've got him dead on the ropes. So a lot of that went into it, I'm sure.
Well, we're loading into Vale of Nath, our final map with these two players. It's going to be, like we said earlier on, the Battle of Big Bodies, Scale Bearer versus Sorlag. I never get tired of watching Scale Bearer on this map. It's just the way he can maneuver around. I mean, how exciting are the bull rush combos all the time? You love to see it on this kind of map because it's just so often. You get it so many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a game of momentum, this is. And how you can establish momentum on two champions that spawn with a stack that large. Rapha, we can never forget that there was a time where he was almost undefeated on this map.
Absolutely, and I mean, we saw it earlier today as well, right? Two heavies onto Vale, so I feel like we're seeing some kind of a meta emerge here, you know? Two big body champions going up against this map might work really well for one reason or the other, and of course, a big part of it is that this is such a small map, so many choke points, tight, winding corridors where you're forced to brawl against your opponent, and even if you do die, you can very quickly find them and going for that re-engagement, the refrag, which of course is helped tremendously by your starting stack. But on that note, let's jump into the map.
An opportunity for Dramis to at least gain some kind of morale. Maybe taking a map off Rapha seems like something that's easier said than done these days, but Rapha is going to cement that first frag in, like, not even 15 seconds. The strength of a Scale Bearer with the damage, the bull rush ready to go. Dramis trying to pepper out as many rockets as he can, and you just notice the stack almost immediately, how much longer it takes to get these frags, and Dramis not shy of being aggressive whatsoever. But hey, check out that respawn stack.
Yeah, immediately off the bat, Rapha has got everything he needs to challenge. Dramis expecting him to go through the teleporter. Rapha taking some rocket damage right there, and then he slips through. Very clever play right there, as Dramis uses this opportunity to get himself the final weapon of the unholy trinity he still needs, the railgun. Very important to pepper your opponent from a distance.
Oh, the combo! Tries to jump over, but just catches the bottom side. And I like how Rapha actually waited until the acid spit was used before using the damage mitigation, just to make it so the tick doesn't really mean anything, and the damage that follows up. Normally, Sorlags, they will go all in if they catch a close range acid spit. And that was very much a sort of defensively used bull rush to shut down that combat. But 3-1, this has been such a frag-heavy map already, and you can really expect nothing less from these kind of picks. But it's also both players not really wanting to give up too much. Dramis knows he has to keep his presence on this map, otherwise Rapha might just run away with it. But the more damage he takes to try and fight for this heavy, the quicker it'll go down, as now Rapha not only gets the frag, but an easily taken heavy. And combine that with him, this is tricky business.
Dramis playing a very slow game right now. He doesn't want to get steamrolled off the spawn again. And all he's got is the railgun. So once his opponent gets up close, he knows he's in a really bad shape, especially against someone like the Scale Bearer. So looking for an angle with a rail, misses it. Rapha takes the turn a little bit too tightly, and look at that. Not one, but two rails into the bull rush is gonna spell the end of the Lizard. As Rapha continues to extend his lead, he's got a good look onto the Mega as well. All the major items going his way. He delays it a fair bit, just to make sure that he can both cycle them again easily next time around.
I really loved Rapha's positioning in that fight too, because he knew that Dramis only really had a railgun, and he had no reason to fear it. So he was specifically positioning himself so Dramis can't just kind of back up and get a single weapon to fight with. And when he was taking the combat, well, he has loads of stacks, so why does he have to fear a rail? There's so much of this little bit of weaponry awareness that you kind of need to have on a map like this. And what are they spawned near? What are they likely to have ready to go? Even if you are two heavies with a huge stack, if they don't have the weapons, a stack is meaningless.
Yep. There we go, though. Dramis starting to turn things around, rather. Getting another frag on his opponent. Rapha off the spawn, as you mentioned yourself earlier. Better stack to begin with.
Oh my, that one hurt. And he's going to finish it. And that was a perfect final rocket. He knows that Dramis is going to zig and zag left, right, and he just places the rocket where he knows Dramis is going to jump, and he jumps right on top of it.
That was a very risky play from Dramis. He knew that he basically would take the full bull rush straight to the face if he went for the heavy, but he still made the calculation that it would help him in the end. Fortunately for him, Rapha's follow-up was clean and quick as always. And that sent him to his grave one more time. 4 frags of a lead for Rapha. Now kind of relegated to the bottom area of the map because he knows he's lost control. He knows that he has to give Dramis some respect. The stack is definitely favoring the lizard right now. This should be the end. Yeah, Rapha still going in for a rail, and it will be Dramis slowly closing the gap. Rapha, what a risky play, and he goes down!
That entirely...
1 point of health.
That whole situation came down to Rapha. He had the rail in hand, but right as he went to take the shot, he swapped to the starting shotgun. And before he could even get a shot off, unfortunately, was taken out. But that's a good situation for Dramis. There is a fat stack working with Rapha, but again, it's more about the weapons. Rapha has... The only thing he's lacking is a rail. But at this range, who needs a rail when Dramis is this weak? 15 seconds away from a bull rush, though, so he's going to have to bide his time for that kind of really close burst. But yeah, that 100 damage rocket... That's the skeleton key to go in, and he'll take it happily. And this has been an immense back and forth. Dramis, nice positioning for the LG, getting a decent chunk of damage there on Rapha. But Rapha, again, not going to be shy of it because there's so many resources to back off to. Bull rush is going to be used. Misses the shot, actually, so he's going to take a bunch of free damage. But does that matter? Dramis, the clutch swap to the rail.
There we go. Now Dramis just has to be extremely careful right now because Rapha's got a monster stack off the spawn, and if he's found out, this could be really bad for him. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yes, yeah, the strength of heavies on Veil.
He shouldn't have been there. And that's something that Rapha did extremely well when he lost control earlier. He just stuck to a small part of the map where he knew he had a lot of escape routes where he could defend himself properly and waited to get his stack back up. Dramis, unable to exert the same amount of patience, just went to peek for the heavy, and Rapha punished it tremendously so.
It's the different levels of experience and decision making that really comes through on a map like this. Two heavy, you should assume they're going to do the same thing. Not at all. Rapha is playing this at such a different pace to Dramis that Dramis, he's obviously trying to run around, he's going and swinging, but Rapha, he's all about position first. He's situation first. The fight comes secondly. And another clean fight where Rapha, if he knows he has to go for the fight, he'll take it and he'll win most of the time, but he's so often in just a better position. How often now is Rapha in this high ground, or at least in a position where he's just listening for where Dramis is going, he just springs a trap like this, and he knows he'll take the fight. He knows he'll come off better.
Absolutely, and now it is slowly slipping away from Dramis. He should have never gone up the bounce pad. And I think that that's something very common, right? The moment that things start going Rapha's way and he is extending his control, players just feel compelled to challenge him over and over again, and it ends up with him just, Rapha builds his lead further, right? Dramis, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go up the bounce pad right now. Rapha's waiting there with an LG. Why? He should never have been there in the first place. He still had the time to slow play it and fight at the right engagements, but there's just something about that pressure, you know, the pressure that Rapha puts on that makes people make these mistakes. Love the rocket jump though, using the air control from Sorlek to just swivel himself around onto the item. Beautifully done.
Rapha did ultimately cancel his bull rush though, definitely values the... Wow, yeah. Oh my god, the rockets!
Okay. Rocket through the crate.
Exactly.
I think that was the most vertical rocket I've ever seen. I think that was straight up, literally just straight up into the air. and then Rapha just kind of overshot the mega. Beautiful play from Dramis, but does he have the time to actually change the outcome of this match? LG's looking decent, but misses the rail, and Rapha punishes.
Okay, I mean, this is just Rapha being Rapha in this situation. He's on the spawn, he knows he's got a lot of weapons. Just sits and wait. He waits for Dramis to make the first move, but Dramis doesn't realize he's making the first move. And now this should be a pickup. Yeah, nice clean pickup from Dramis. Beautiful acid spit placement. No way you can avoid it, and then just getting some rails when they matter.
And with 2 minutes left to go, this should be going toward Dramis. The ODLG is looking good, but of course, Bull Rush gives you so much momentum and that damage reduction. And Rapha actually double backing right there, looking for even more damage. And Dramis just keep going round and round.
He is able to get, he's able to get some damage, but again, it's not really enough to shut down. That missed rail, by all accounts, is going to get punished, and Dramis is ready. Okay, 4 frags in just over a minute. I mean, this is Vale we're talking about. It could happen.
I was about to say, this is not over just yet. If you can get 1 frag on this map, you can easily string it together into another, but you need to keep enough stack.
That's
Rapha,
it, though.
is he gonna die from the spit? No, he just barely managed to pick up some of the hell bubbles down there, but that came down to the wire.
Yep, I think that one fight is all she wrote.
Yeah,
Little Marauder shotgun. I love that sound effect. Chunky. But yeah, the second that one fight went skew with, that was really it. That's the deciding factor. Dramis desperately had to win that fight. And now Rapha is just going to deny. Damage reduction. And a guaranteed frag. Oh, the pillar. The pillar actually saved Dramis twice. Oh, that's a cute little turnaround, but not enough, unfortunately. A small victory, but he needed many more of those and does not have time to get it done.
Yeah. This time there was no time left, and that will be another quick 3-0 victory for Rapha. The man continuing his streak without losing a single map. It's gonna be interesting to see if he finishes the entirety of the online stage, the weeklies of stage 3 this way as well, but so far no one even looks close to capable of putting a dent into this man.
He is the current best player in the world for a reason, and he more than proved that today. You know, a valiant effort from Dramis at the end of the day. This was always going to be a hard battle for him, but I mean, Rapha's Rapha for a reason. And the second he gets control, I mean, I'm not surprised really that the one time things looked a bit more back and forth, and Rapha wasn't able to establish like a constant level of control without losing frags, was the map where it just doesn't work the same way. You know, I think the map played a big part in that back and forth. And the second we had 2 maps which are very control heavy, Rapha, the second he cemented his lead, he just ran away with it. Vale was a good chance for that too, but ultimately Rapha gets the 3-0 anyway.
I mean, that's a bit of a recurring theme when it comes to Rapha, right? And I feel the same kind of goes for the Hang as well, although to a slightly lesser extent. Very often they start their games off close, things are kind of tight, but then always around the halfway mark, there comes a point where they just cement themselves on the map. They get the rotation going, the aim is all warmed up, and they just leave their opponent no avenues of getting back into the game whatsoever. And Rapha showing us again what he's capable of, perfectly played, and Dramis just in the end didn't stand a chance.
Well, I mean, I can't say the result really surprised me too much. That's it really, is that they are... Dramis has been seeing a nice level of growth as a player. It's just against Rapha, it's almost impossible to bet against Rapha. Like if you're looking at the best player in the world versus anyone, it's kind of hard to vote any other way. And Dramis, he went into that fully knowing what he was up against. So it was a hard effort. Rapha just did what Rapha does best, which is win, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely so, and he's been doing that for a long time. The question remains, is there anyone out there capable of stopping him? So far, it doesn't really seem like it, but of course, congrats to Liquid Rapha for his win today. Now, that doesn't mean that we're done just yet, though, does it?
No, we have our next matchup to get up and running, and as you might expect, we're going to cut to a break while we get the players in and set the lobby up. So again, this is week number 7, stage 3, Quake Pro League. See you in a few.